So warm welcome here in our studio in Serekunda. This is Star TV News and I am Dada Cham. In the headlines tonight, the Gambian Republic is solid, sound and stable, reveals Gambian historian and museum curator Hassoum Ceesay. Chinese ambassador Ma Ching-chom condemns xenophobic and racist attacks in Africans on China. Properties lost as fire ravages a household in New Joswang. On the international scene, Missouri becomes first state to sue China over an appealing campaign of the sea. U.S. officials say Kim Jong may be incapacitated after surgery. At least several killed, 85 injured in northern Miami flash floods. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. As the Gambian Republic clocks 50 years on Friday, April 24, 2020, Gambian historian and museum curator Hassoum Ceesay said in an interview that the Republic of the Gambia, which was declared 50 years ago, is solid, sound and stable. On April 24, 1970, Gambian voters went to the polls in a second Republican referendum in less than 5 years to decide if the country, independent from Britain 5 years earlier, should be republic within the Commonwealth or not. More details with Jacqueline Colley.
On April 24, 1970, 84,968 Gambians voted yes to republic, while 35,813 voted no. This was indeed a resounding victory. In 1965, much fewer people voted yes, which was why the Gambia did not become a republic in 1965, said Mr. Ceesay. He added, soon after the votes were declared over Radio Gambia on 25th of April, preparations started to swear in Jawara as our first president. It was prompt, so not many foreign guests came to attend this historic swearing-in of our first president of the Republic of the Gambia at the Makati Square in Batos, now Banjul. Sir Philip Bridges, Chief Justice at the moment, swore in Sir Dawda Jawara as president. Chief Justice at the time swore in Sir Dawda Jawara as president on 26th of April 1970. Then Sir Alu Suleiman Jack, who was acting Governor General, handed over the instruments of republic to Sir Dawda. In late 1969, when the PPP top brass wanted to have another try at the republic, they decided to send Sir Framang Singate, who was Governor General, on leave because they suspected he did not want the idea of a republic. But the PPP had no evidence.
In 1969, when the PPP government wanted to have another try at the republic, after the first attempt in 1965, which failed, they suspected Sir Framang Singate, who was Governor General at the time in 1970, did not want the idea of a republic. But the PPP had no evidence. They were merely suspicious. Of course, Sir Framang did not want to lose his job. So the PPP decided to send him on indefinite leave in Las Palmas with his family, so that Sir Framang cannot interfere with the PPP campaign for yes vote. The PPP moved maybe wisely by removing Sir Framang from Gambia to this faraway island. What is clear is that he only returned in May 1970, many weeks after the Gambia had become a republic. Now, what does republic mean what does it mean for ordinary Gambia? Well, independence means freedom, but the freedom gained at independence has certain missing links. For example, Jawara, who was elected leader as Prime Minister in 1962 and again in 1966, he had to consult Queen Elizabeth II.
Mr. Ceesay explains that independence means freedom, but the freedom has certain missing links. Like Jawara, who was elected leader as Prime Minister in 1962 and 1966, had to consult Queen Elizabeth through the Governor General, Sir Framang, for certain decisions like cabinet reshuffles. Sir Framang was always cooperative with Jawara. But the PPP wanted full and total control to be able to realize the development agenda they had.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, consult, Queen Elizabeth through Alhaji Safari Mengsingari, the Governor General, to even do certain things like cabinet reshuffle. To be fair, Safariman was always cooperative with Jawara, but the PP government wanted full and total control to be able to realize the development agenda that they had.
Luckily for us, Jawara built a republic of rights and not a republic of terror, said Hasum Ceesay. In addition, Jawara Gambianized the economy by promoting Gambian business people like Modu Musanjai, MS Tambidu, Malik Law and others after the European companies like UAC, Muriel Edprom, which used to import basic commodities, left after 1970. Hasum noted that the PPPU also reinforced our republic by establishing our own currency called Dalasi. The Dalasi remains one great symbol of Gambian sovereignty. Jawara and his government also promoted community development, self-help through Tesito, promoted education and advanced health through the primary health care program, and promoted human and people's rights. Hasum Ceesay concluded that looking into the future as a historian has reasons for optimism. Our republic has survived coups, droughts, economic recession, and impasse. Our republic remains solid and strong. Gambians are taking up the national call seriously and are getting more community spirited. Moreover, we are enjoying our rights to expression and assembly. The talents in arts and culture is impressive. Also, salaries are being paid monthly on time. This is great news and deserves our pride as Gambians 50 years since our republic was built, the historian said. Jacqueline Collie, reporting for Star TV News.
In an interview with our reporter Amadou Bari, the Chinese ambassador to the Gambia, Ma Ching-chong, rejected allegation of his embassy making suspicious a generosity on the donation given to the Gambia, and outlined that it was only an expression of global solidarity and sharing of experience to deal with the threat of the pandemic. This is an excerpt of the interview the ambassador had with our reporter Amadou Bari.
Okay, what's important is the efforts to contain the coronavirus. This is very important. We just China just got some periodic progress in the containing of the coronavirus. So we have this feeling. So when African people got threatened of this coronavirus, so we have the same feeling. We try to share some experiences, and also we try to provide our assistance at our ability. So this is what I was thinking, because we think just like our President Xi Jinping mentioned, we adhere to the principle of real reality, sincerity, and affinities. So to build up the community with a shared future. So just for this, and also we have the good cooperation before when some other virus broke out in Africa, like Ebola, you remember? Yeah, just like before, we try to work together against the virus. Okay, thank you.
The Chinese ambassador to the Gambia reacts to the attack on Africans in his country. Xenophobic and racism attacks relate on social media with a rush and outcry in Africa. The diplomat condemns it and reassures that all measures have been taken. Amadou Bari interviewed him, and this is an exception of the interview.
Noticed some information in the website. I would like to tell you, Chinese government firmly opposes any discriminations and racism, and we never allowed any discriminations to some different groups. So this time, just now I mentioned, China got some periodic progress, but we are still at the risk of imported cases and domestic resurgency. So we have to implement some measures. Guangzhou is just as you know, is a port city. So every day Guangzhou receives the visitors from overseas. So the local authority got some big pressures, especially the workers in the local community. So because of some lack of communication and sometimes the different background of the culture, yeah, maybe people have some misunderstanding. But even though, so the Chinese government attached great importance on that. We already asked the Guangzhou authority and the people, especially from the community, to improve their working working service. Many measures already taken. So I just want to tell you, if something happened, that's an individual incident, has nothing to do with any discriminations or racialism. Thank you.
In the late hours of Tuesday, a whole house was destroyed by fire in New Newsroom. There has not been any death or injury, but money was lost and a huge damage done in the house of one Katim Gay. I visited the scene and this is my report. Katim Gay said he was at work when he received a call that informed him that his house was on fire. He thanked God that there was no loss of life or injury, and some of the money was recovered in the house thanks to the neighbors. According to Katim, he cannot remember the amount lost in the fire. Sally Haidara, wife of Katim, said some of the monies lost in the fire includes their susu, saving for members of their neighbors. She said she does not know her fate regarding the money because they have been saving the money for 3 months now. They are 4 in numbers and each contribute $50 every day. A neighbor said he was around the house when the fire started, but they don't know what causes it. He said all they saw in the first place was smoke. The Gay family thanked the neighbors and urged for support to recover the lost. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham. And now the news beyond our borders. Missouri becomes the first state to sue the Chinese government, setting an appealing campaign of the suit related to the coronavirus pandemic. The civil was filed Tuesday in a federal court by GOP State Attorney General Irish, claiming Chinese officials are responsible for the enormous states suffering and economic losses that inflict on the world, including Missouri. More on the story with Fox News.
Well, the leadership of mainland China, of course, lied about this virus from the beginning. They virtually guaranteed it would spread across the world and devastate the global economy, all of which happened. Will they pay any price for that? Eric Schmidt is the Attorney General of the state of Missouri. Today, he made Missouri the first state to sue China over the Wuhan coronavirus. He joins us tonight. Mr. Attorney General, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Tell us about this suit that you have filed.
Well, look, what's become clear in recent weeks is the deception, the misrepresentation, the concealment of the Chinese government of the origins of this vicious virus that's impacted the entire globe. I mean, no part of the world has been spared from the coronavirus. And the fact is the Chinese government misrepresented. They were aware of the human-to-human contact and transmission very early on, hid that, punished and concealed the evidence from whistleblowers. And the impact has been devastating. You had a loss of life here in Missouri, you know, over 6,000, nearly 6,000 cases, nearly 200 deaths, people not being allowed to see folks in nursing homes or funerals, the economic impact, the disruption, people living paycheck to paycheck who've lost their jobs. It's enormous. And our state legislature goes in next week, like a lot of states, to try to craft a state budget under these circumstances. So I felt it was incumbent upon me as the state's chief legal officer to take that case and to prosecute that case to the Chinese government. They're responsible for this, and the responsibility lies directly at their feet.
Have you had any pushback or disagreement on this?
You know, we feel very confident in the case, and essentially we've brought forth claims of a public nuisance and negligence. The hoarding of PPE is certainly also one of our allegations, and some folks have made issue as to the Federal Sovereign Immunities Act, but there are exceptions. There is exceptions for commercial activity, and the fact that they were running the virology lab, the fact that they were running hospital systems, the fact that they were hoarding PPE, we think fits squarely into that exception, which is why we brought the case.
Sure. I mean, other countries have been sued successfully, Iran, for example. And really quickly, when will you find out if this case goes forward?
Well, we filed it today in the Eastern District in federal court, and we look forward to the Chinese government's response. I mean, this ultimately is about holding those responsible for this worldwide pandemic, holding them accountable. And we look forward to them answering the complaint. It's been very specific in our complaint, the factual allegations as far as the timeline of the misrepresentations and also our legal claims we feel are very merited.
Well, there are a lot of specifics out there. Attorney General Schmidt, thanks so much for telling us about it tonight. Appreciate it.
Several officials told NBC News that U.S. intelligence reporting indicates that North Korea dictator Kim Jong recently had cardiovascular surgery and has been out of public view for days. South Korea's officials have denied that Kim is ill. More from NBC News.
Missing from view for days, Kim Jong-un was even absent from his late grandfather's birthday commemoration last week, a key celebration. Tonight, several American officials tell NBC News U.S. intelligence reporting indicates Kim recently underwent cardiovascular surgery. Some officials saying the intelligence suggests he may be incapacitated, but they're investigating to see if that's true. While South Korean officials say Kim is active as normal and they do not detect evidence of ill health. President Trump, who met Kim last year, spoke out today.
The reports that came out, and we don't know. We don't know. I've had a very good relationship with him. I wouldn't, I can only say this, I wish him well.
Kim Jong-un has disappeared during reported health crises before, only to later appear on state TV. If he does again, the images will be closely examined to see if they're doctored or are old.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
Yemen's government has declared the southern port of Aden a disaster area after heavy rain led to a flash flood in the city. The Prime Minister has asked other nations and related organizations to help as the flooding could spread cholera further. The country is fighting one of the world's worst outbreaks from the disease. Nearly 6 years of fighting have damaged Yemen's infrastructure and health system. Al Jazeera, Carlon Balis reports.
It was a desperate attempt to stop this couple being swept away. Strangers leapt into a street in central Aden, fighting to pull them free of the current. It is rainy season in Yemen, but with neglected infrastructure, the water makes its own path through the city, turning roads into rivers. Many were caught out and had to be saved from their vehicles. These boys trying to cheer up a woman they rescued by singing to her. Compounding the trauma is that this also happened a month ago. Then the UN had to bulldoze thousands of tons of rubble and mud off the streets. Almost 5,000 families were displaced. The water also harbours an invisible danger. Yemen is battling a cholera outbreak, a disease spread through water. Some 400 kilometres north, in the capital Sana'a, residents are salvaging what they can from floods a week ago. Heavy winds and rain killed 7 people, injured dozens, and damaged 16 refugee camps in the neighbouring governorate of Marib.
The heavy rain destroyed everything. We weren't expecting it, and it came from the mountains and swept everything away without warning. The rain took our clothes, buses, everything in its path.
And yet, there is a potentially more ominous disaster on the horizon. Yemen has had just 1 case of coronavirus. The UN has warned it will be catastrophic if it catches hold here. Only half of Yemen's medical facilities are functional, the population is acutely malnourished, and about 80% or 24 million people need aid to survive. Multinational companies, including Tetra Pak and Unilever, are donating tens of thousands of virus testing kits to Yemen. The first shipment will arrive next week. A devastated health system and neglected infrastructure are symptoms of Yemen's 5-year civil war. Whether it will continue is under negotiation.
We've all noted the continued violence. What Mr. Griffiths is doing is trying to get the parties to agree to a nationwide ceasefire, a sustainable nationwide ceasefire. Those discussions are ongoing, obviously in challenging circumstances, but that's what he's trying to do.
Challenging circumstances for all, but for Yemenis, a resolution can't come soon enough. Charlotte Ballas, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. The Gambia's republic is solid, sound and stable, reveals Gambian historian and museum curator Hassoum Ceesay. Chinese ambassador Ma Ching-jung condemns xenophobic and racist attacks on Africans in China. Property lost as fire ravages a household in New Jersey. Missouri becomes first state to sue China over an appealing campaign of the seeds. U.S. officials say Kim Jong may be incapacitated after surgery. At least 7 killed, 85 injured in northern Yemen flash floods. That's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us for tomorrow's news. Thank you for watching.